more content. It's been a little while since we've done one of these after-hour sessions, and usually it's with the crew, with Jonah and Ricky, but today, since they're here, I'm going to introduce you guys to the rest of the after-hours crew, at least for today. So on my left is Mo Ismail. He goes by Mo Ismail. This is Chris Franklin over here. What's up, Chris, with the deep voice? And then Rodrigo Tasca. Is it Tascas?
Tasca.
Yeah, from Brazil.
That's correct.
And he's here, and you may have seen these people just not that long ago. Less than 24 hours ago, we were here. And we're back at it. So this is the format. We're going to do some kind of informal conversation. None of this is scripted, so bear with us. And for those of you that can't stand watching a really long live stream without a clear point with timestamp, I suggest you skip this video right now. And the parts that are good, the team will come back and edit and drop very bite-sized pieces. But if you enjoy these kind of like campfire discussions, these fireside chats, that's what the intent is. So I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm ready for you. Whoever has something that they want to bring up, it could be a follow-up to a question. And also, we'll be monitoring your comments in a little bit on YouTube, because that's where we're streaming to. Ricky's got us. He's raised his hand there. And Mo, you want to kick it off? You seem like you're itching to say something.
Before we started, I think Franklin was going to kick
don't
it
move
off.
too much. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So, we had a conversation earlier where basically you were telling us that we inherited this mindset of dreaming too small. And that kind of resonated with me because over the past 11 months, I haven't been very forward thinking. I've been trying to, keep it contained and keep the day-to-day going because the future can be a bit unpredictable. So with today's climate and alongside with basically me coming out of like a partnership where we were dreaming super, super far, now I'm like in the mindset of dreaming small and immediate, and the future can't be, too in my hands, I should say. So I basically would like to say I need help to dream bigger, because the examples that you gave of yourself and the things that you talked about were really inspiring, and they made me realize that I was satisfied with the pace I was going, and that I thought that good enough was good enough. But how do you dream bigger with all of these external factors going on?
Okay, great. Thanks for helping to kick off the conversation. I want to give everybody some context as to what the heck we're talking about, because they're not privy to the hours of dialogue we had on Sunday and then yesterday and all the other conversations we have in between. The first thing that you mentioned was that we inherited this dream small mentality. And some people are going to take offense to me even suggesting that. That's not literally what I said. But that's the net takeaway. I'm not disagreeing with that. But let me just say this. Like when you were born and raised, and hopefully you were raised by parents who loved you, who cared for you and want the best for you, they, by example, by virtue of what they do and what they say, they're giving you a life plan. Some of it is overt and some of it is implied. And so you may have parents who believe in the American dream of working hard, paying your dues and putting your nose to the grindstone and living a good life, working 9 to 5, and then planning for the weekends in terms of barbecues and get-togethers, the weekend warriors, if you will. And they gave you a lot of this, and you're not even aware of what they gave you. And you can just take a quick look and ask yourself, what city do you live in? What religion do you practice, if you practice religion? What political party do you affiliate yourself with? And all of a sudden you're going to realize that is all pretty much from my parents. The reason why I think there's so much negative discourse that's going on in such a polarized climate, especially if you live here in America, between whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, a far-right person or a liberal, whether you're of this faith or that faith. And the interesting thing is I think it was Bill Burr who talked about this. He said religion is a pretty stupid concept if you really think about it. And he's like, you guys know about Scientology and how a guy named Ron founded a religion, and you can't take any religion seriously by a guy named Ron. And how like there are people from Xanthar who are going to come in a spaceship. And we listen to this and the crowd is erupting in laughter and disbelief. He goes, here's the thing. It's just as we get older, we become really cynical. We become really skeptical. And that sounds like a crazy fairy tale. But he said if you weren't raised Christian and somebody told you a woman gave birth to a God's son from immaculate conception, you would laugh them out the door too. And why is it that we don't use the same standards of investigation, of seeking truth. It's because we just accepted these things to be true. Here's the other thing I want to kind of share with you guys is that one day, I mean, if you should have the good fortune to live longer than your parents, you take care of yourself, you don't die of unnatural causes, they'll pass away. And if you're the only child, they're going to hopefully leave a will where you inherit all their stuff. You might inherit their house, their cars, whatever else they've acquired and accumulated throughout their life. They can't do anything with it once they've passed, so they're going to leave it to you. And then you get a call from your attorney who tells you, hey, there's an inheritance here and we need to go through some paperwork. But you get all this stuff. You arrive at their house and you open the garage door and it's just packed with stuff. You didn't realize in the years in which you've not lived at home, your parents have become pack rats. They've accumulated things. They've become hoarders. And you now have the difficult and emotional task of emptying things and getting rid of things. You don't need another house. You don't need another car to like maintain and keep up. And there's a lot of stuff that your parents kept for sentimental reasons. They have an emotional attachment to those things that you clearly do not. So you're going to go through and very judiciously sort out a few things that have meaning to you, maybe that you want to pass on to your children to keep the family tradition alive. But the rest of it, you're going to give away, estate sale. You're just going to get rid of it because you don't need more stuff. Right? That makes sense. You're going to actively decide what you want to take on. And everything that you take on means you have less space in your current house or apartment. You're going to do that. That seems very clear to you. So why haven't we done that same kind of auditing and that same kind of decision making that's objective, saying these are ideas my parents had, it worked for them, but they don't work for me. That's their religion, that's their political party, that's the way they see the world. It was good for them, but I don't want that anymore. So part of this is that they want for you not to suffer. They want to make sure you're not starving, fighting to make ends meet. Maybe they have had those moments themselves where they had to decide between food and rent. And that's a very, very tough situation to be in. And so they give you this game plan and it just becomes baked into your DNA. And for a while, you don't have a lot of choice because you're not fully formed as an adult who's has an awareness to your own mind. But when you do, when you turn whatever age that may be, sometimes it's earlier, 15 years old, sometimes it's later, like in your earlier mid-20s, and then you wake up one day and you realize everything that I think about, now I have a choice to keep or to get rid of, just like the estate sale.
Right.
And so it is convenient for us to tell ourselves a story that this is how it was made. My multiple generations, my family have believed this, and therefore I blame my parents for giving me this thing. But that's not taking accountability for who you are and not saying you have agency over your thoughts and actions, which is a horrible way to think of yourself, like you're some automaton, like somebody's pulling strings. Nobody wants to see themselves like that. So when you come to that realization that you need to be accountable for everything that you are today moving forward, not to say that your parents didn't have some responsibility, but looking to the past, as I found out, doesn't help you today and that will not help you tomorrow. You got to make the decision. So let's say you're an early riser and you decide, I don't want to do that anymore. It's not really good for me. I want to get up at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. And the day that you decide to do that and follow through with that is the day that you no longer are an early riser. Take that idea and apply it to everything in your life. Rodrigo, you're a vegetarian. Were you raised vegetarian? Did your parents eat meat?
They do not. I'm Brazilian, so we ate a lot of meat.
Lots of meat. A lot of really delicious meats, by the way.
Picanha. Yeah. The thing for me was I worked on a short documentary about like what happens in the animal stuff, and I saw things that I was like, I can't.
You can't unsee.
And I knew about it. My sister was a vegan for like 2 or 3 years. I made like a lot of fun of her. Like I'd be the guy eating a burger in front of her. Like, you want this? She'd be like, ah. And like later on, I was like, wow, I was so insensitive to this. Like I knew about it, but I just didn't really want to open up until I saw it for myself, and then I couldn't go back. Like my mind.
Right. So you illustrated something perfectly for me. Is that once you decided, I don't want to do this anymore, that you're no longer comfortable participating in habits and traditions of your forefathers and parents, you're done. And you made that decision. So of all the things in your life, are you that clear? It's a rhetorical question. I just want you to think about it. And I want everybody who's listening to this to think and ask themselves that same kind of question. Is everything you decide, like if your favorite typeface is Caslon, why is it Caslon? Probably because your favorite instructor used Caslon and told you that was the best typeface. Or maybe it's Times New Roman because it just turns out that it's the default typeface. You are used to just using things by default. The de facto standard, right? You're not committed to any of that. The beautiful thing about the human mind and our so-called journey of life here is you could change your mind. You could be raised a Republican and then decide to be a Democrat or vice versa. You could follow one faith and decide another faith or no faith at all. And that's the most beautiful thing that we have, is that we can change our mind. And changing our mind should be celebrated more than it is in current culture. When people change their mind today, they're attacked for being inconsistent or doublespeak. It's like I can change my mind many times. And that's how we grow. So let's get back to the real question. That was the context for the conversation. The real question is, how do I begin to change my mind about dreaming bigger?
Right.
Now, is my phone on? Now, I do want to say something here. I'm not here to judge whether or not you have a big enough or small enough dream. And you said, how do we dream bigger? And I'm not encouraging you necessarily, and I want to be more precise with my language now, not necessarily to dream bigger, because you need to have bigger goals. Right. And a goal is a dream with a plan. So you could sit here and like, Chris, I'm the world's biggest dreamer. You can't believe it. Me and Kanye, I'm going to be on Oprah, and you'll see me running for the president of the United States soon.
Franklin,
that's a dream.
And
dreams are kind of empty. Yeah. So what's your plan? Like you and your former partner, we won't mention his name at this point in time. He's dead to you.
Hate
but you have big
that
dreams.
Sucks.
You have big dreams.
Right.
But how much of it did you put into planning and executing, right? Did you break it down into quarters, like 4 quarters a year? Did you break it down to months, then things you had to do every week, and down to the day and down to the hour? Did you know what it is that you needed to do? Because if you don't, then you just have a dream. And dreams are kind of nice, but they won't get you anywhere. So let's talk about your own specific goal. So let's refine the question. The question would be then, how do I know if my goal is going to push me enough that I know I'm not just being complacent? We don't want to just be okay, right? You know me. I've talked about this a lot. My feeling, this is just my feeling, I believe this, that if we stop growing, we start dying. In every aspect except for our waistline. If we stop growing, we start dying. Because that's it. Because life, to me, is about the pursuit of growth, about this insatiable curiosity that never gets filled. Because you fill one bucket and you realize there's 35 more buckets. The more I learn that I don't know anything. And that's why I love learning. And I get to apply that. Let's talk about your specific goal. Do you know what it is? And do you know how you feel about your goal without saying the specific goal? Do you know what your goal is? Like where you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years from now?
To that extent, I don't.
Okay.
I can say I have, small tangible and financial goals that I want to hit for next year.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it stopped for me.
Okay. So let's do this. Realize something, and here goes some mixed metaphors potentially, and I could get in trouble. Is that your goal is your compass. Your hustle is the velocity. With a lot of hustle, and I know that a lot of people think about hustle and grind culture and to celebrate it, to a degree you do need some of that to be able to work hard for your goals. But without the direction of that compass, you could be going 100% off in the wrong direction. I read in a book, I can't remember which book now, where if you set a destination from the West Coast, where we are today in Santa Monica, to the East Coast, and let's just say it's 37 degrees, and you go 38 degrees instead of 37, you'll be hundreds of miles off course. You probably won't even know where the heck you are. That matters a lot. So sitting down with somebody, that somebody could just be yourself, and saying, where do I see myself? Yesterday we talked about vision casting.
Right.
To kind of say, okay, I don't know exactly how to get there, but I know what there looks like, and that's really important. So if we were to go around this room and ask every single person, where is there? where do you want to be, it should be clear. It should be fairly concrete. It should be fairly specific. I know where I want to be. I could tell you. I could see my future already. And that's why sometimes when it happens, I'm pleasantly surprised, but I feel like it's deja vu because I visualized it, and it's important. And a lot of sports people, athletes, they do this visualization, seeing themselves walk into the ring, circling around the cage, eyeing their opponent, bowing, nodding, and then just tearing them apart. And they even say it'll happen in the second round. It'll be this kind of strike. It'll be an elbow to the side of the head, and it'll be a KO victory. They see themselves being applauded and celebrated and walking out victorious and celebrating in the locker room. That's how clear they see it. So when they see people walking into the ring, and you'll see the commentators say this, something is off. Doesn't have that spark, that killer instinct. That fighter arrived in the ring defeated. Mm. Now, we all can look at each other. We can all look at each other, right, Mo? We can say, Mo's going to tell you some big goal of his, and you can tell by the way he says it, that spark in his eye, the quickening of his pulse, the white knuckling of his fists, whether he really wants it or not. It's like he doesn't even believe in his own goal. He's saying it as an external thing to make you think he's going to go somewhere, but internally he already knows it's not going to happen. And that's what we can see as the objective friend looking at it without judgment, saying I don't think he believes that. And you can tell. You can almost always tell because there's a hesitation and a way of him phrasing it and his tone that you can tell. So if you don't have that clear goal, Chris, you could just be really lucky that you get there. And then you will falsely attribute your amazing planning to that. So my whole thing for all of you is visualize where you want to go. To paint the most vivid, high-fidelity image that you can in your mind. And then articulate that in any which way you can. And you make videos. So you can say it in your video. Say, here's where I see myself heading in 5 years. I want my community, you all, to hold me accountable for this. Here's how I plan to get there. These are the steps that I'll be taking, and I'll be reporting back to you each and every quarter how I'm doing. I'm going to fail. I'm going to take the wrong direction. I'm going to make mistakes. Hang in there with me. Don't give up on me because I won't give up on myself. And then you go. So you have to be able to visualize it. It has to be clear in your mind. You have to be able to articulate that. And if you don't make videos, you can just write in a journal this is really what I want. And then share that with somebody, because here's the thing. You would think we're really motivated as human beings to do the things that we promise ourselves. But actually, we're more motivated by not letting other people down that we care about than we are about living up to our own promise. Mo's going to talk about this in a second.
I believe in that
I feel
so
it.
hard.
I feel it, right?
Right.
This is kind of what you need to set for yourself. So my thing for you is whatever your goal is, at least include a couple things in there that scare the heck out of you, that you have to transform in order for that goal to happen. That's the tricky part of goal setting. It has to stretch you in the way that you look at the world, maybe your work ethic, maybe how you take care of yourself, maybe the books that you have to read, or you're going to have to face your demons and slay your own dragons. That's how you know there's some component of risk and fear, and therefore on the other side of that is growth. You got to do that.
So I get what you're saying right now.
You do? You don't sound like it. You see the way he phrased that?
Well,
Watch where this goes. I already can tell you where it's going.
Where's it going to go, Chris? You're right.
It's a hard but. It just feels like a
it is a hard but.
Yeah,
it is.
like
it is, isn't it? Is it? See, we knew it.
Chris, come on, you're always right. You're always
right. Be quiet.
No, so I feel where Franklin's at, right? So the whole visioning of where the business is going to go, it's not something that's out of, sight for me. For me, the big thing is to dream bigger. When I heard you talking about the things that you want to do the other day, me and Mo walking back to the Airbnb, we're like, whoa, Like the stuff that Chris is talking about doing are things I never thought about, like even doing in my life. And then yesterday, you know, when we're leaving here, you're like, hey, you guys have any questions about the setup or anything like that? We're like, no, I didn't think anything of it until I got home. And I was like, was that Chris testing us about how the stuff works here so we can use this gear to shoot something, because he's like take advantage of the things, all these different possibilities. So when I got here today, I was like, yo guys, can I pull the whiteboard? And they're like, take it. But when I talked to you about it, you're like, that wasn't it. But at least for me, that no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it.
Yeah, good try.
But it sparked something in me, right? Because I was like, what's like, let me think of something bigger than me doing that whiteboard. And I don't know, for me, and I don't know, just because being like an immigrant and things like that is a mindset would like, you know, I've always just looked to try to reach things that are within my grasp. And like, I want to do something bigger than that now. But it's like, I just don't know, you know, how to tap into that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I just like, I don't know how you went from like, you know, going from starting blind to the future and then talking about these different things. Like, what is like that pivot? Because you talk about, you know, 1 degree off, you're talking about hundreds of miles off. It's like, how do we, you know, find which way we should be going?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Before I answer your long observation and a short question in there, I do want to answer to the people who are tuning in live. This is live, you guys. What's up? What's up? This is totally live because, you know how? Because I'm reading your comments right now. It's totally live. And there are 291 people in it. Okay, so just hang out with us. We're going to talk. I'm not going to pay too much attention to what's going in the chat because Ricky's going to do that for me, and he'll find appropriate times to like flag me and let me know what's up. Okay. I also can see Jonah there with his hands up with the wrench. I don't know what the wrench means, Jonah, but oh, is that what it means? The wrench is the moderator? Dang, he just upgraded his status there. I love that. Beautiful. Very nice. Okay, now let's get back to your thing. Let's talk about a couple of things. Let's break it down. One of the things I want to help you develop a skill set of is not overcomplicating what it is you want to say. Don't do the big buildup. Don't do compounded questions, because the weird thing is the person who's standing in front of you might choose to answer the wrong question that you actually had. So just go straight to it. It's going to help you out a lot. Yesterday when I asked you, after we finish rapping, as we often do, we'll say, okay, let's review. Let's see how things went. But because you guys were here, Jonah, Ricky, and myself, we really didn't get to do that. And we spoke. But before I left, I said, do you guys have any questions about what just transpired? So what I want you to do is start to train your mind to experience this right now as Rodrigo sitting in that Eames lounge chair. It's a beautiful chair. It's really nice, so don't mess it up.
It's really nice.
It is really nice.
Beautiful chair. Charge to break the chair.
Yeah, all right? It's a nice chair. And so you're there. And then once you start to master just being present as to who you are and listening to what's going on and not thinking about what's happening tomorrow or what happened yesterday, I want you to step outside of your own body, to kind of travel an astral plane with me and look at this room. Try to see it from my point of view. Try to see it from Franklin's point of view, or what Jonah and Ricky are doing. It's hard to do, but you can do it if you make the practice of this to kind of have this outer body experience. So when I ask you these kinds of questions, like, do you have any questions about what we just did? You were still experiencing as Rodrigo. You weren't experiencing, like, if I had to run this production one day, I want to know what we're talking about here. So you're going to elevate yourself, just kind of, not in terms of value, but elevate yourselves in terms of point of view to float above it and say, what is going on? And if you can develop this for yourself, you're going to be able to learn not one time, but maybe 1.5 times or 2 times as much as Rodrigo was going to experience. And this is what I do. So when I was working for people, I did my job, which was to do design work. But I was watching them watching me and trying to figure out, how is he or she going to respond to my work? What are they doing? Are they searching for words? Are they going to just smash the sledgehammer on my face and say this is all garbage and just brush it off the table? What are they going to do? I'm studying their communication style. I'm looking at what they're thinking about, because I'm imagining in my mind now what it's going to be like for them to take this work that I've done and to go present it to their client, their bosses. And I wanted to kind of get a feel for that. So that would then prompt me to ask certain questions like, do you feel good about the work that was done? Now it's not even my work. I'm trying to step to the side and not look at them, but look at the problem together. It's like, what are you missing? What are you looking for? What do you think will sell? What do you think they'll say? How will they respond? That's the kind of level of thinking I'm talking about. So you want to also make the deliberate practice of doing something like that. And then you're going to start to see yourself float. This is how you get to go from the person doing the work to the person who's in charge of other people doing the work, because you're asking those higher level questions. You've heard me say something like this before. I would judge a person and their potential by the quality of the questions they ask, period. So your goal in life is to learn how to ask better questions, because you're going to communicate to the other person, I'm somebody that you should take notice of. I'm not here just to do the work. I'm not here just to be the hands in the operation. I'm good at that. I enjoy doing that, but I'm going to help to think this through on a higher level. And you know, when you've hired people in the past, Drigo, that they don't just show up and like, what kind of lens do you want? What kind of body do you want on the camera? They're going to ask you like, tell me more about the environment. What's the vibe we're going for? Are there any references? And then you step back and go, whoa, that DP, they got something going on. She's got it going on. She's somebody I need to take care of, because we together can grow. And I need smart people like that to anticipate the next steps, to see beyond what is materially present right in front of them. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, I haven't even gotten to your question yet.
This is good.
Okay.
This is good.
Let's get to your question, though. What is your question?
It's just about dreaming bigger. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, to a certain extent, I'm already fortunate enough that I got to come to America and become a citizen, all these different things. And, sometimes I feel like I could be doing more, you know what I mean? Just of what I can achieve. But
Okay.
I think I have...
Stop there then. This idea of wanting to do more, feeling like that, what's the emotion that's attached to this observation? Is it one where you feel like you're beating yourself up, like, oh, I could be doing more? Or is it, I could be doing more? Does it empower you? Or does it make you feel bad that you're not working as much as you like to work? What's the emotion assigned around that?
Honestly speaking, the first one.
That's what I suspected. So that's not a good voice inside your head. That's the inner voice that is being critical of not being satisfied with what you have. Okay? That's not coming from a place of growth and encouragement. That's coming from a place of judgment and probably criticism. Now you have to ask yourself, even though you believe it to be your voice, whose voice is that that's saying that to you? Do you know?
Sounds like Mo.
I knew you were gonna say it to me.
Honestly, I don't know, because in the same situation, I'm very fortunate with my mom that her dad, my grandpa, shout out to you, grandpa in Brazil, he made my mom go to school, get a degree that she did not want, and when she graduated school, she was like, hey, here's your diploma. So with me, she's always been like, hey, do what you want. Just make sure you're doing something that you love. And she's always been very supportive of that. So, I wouldn't say it was my mom. I don't know, most of it, honestly, is kind of you. But it's just because I think you see the potential in us. And it's one of those things of I don't want to just be happy that I'm in the building. I want to be doing something more. And I don't know, but it's not like I'm letting myself down.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to challenge a couple of things.
Yes, please.
You mentioned your mom. You did not mention your father. I won't go there. I'll leave it to you to figure out how you want to talk about that. So you're saying, I'm just going to check, and you guys make sure we're keeping each other honest in this room, is if you never met me, you're the happiest guy in the world, and you're just going to do what you're going to do, and you're going to be okay with that.
No.
I can't believe that, see? So I don't believe I have the power to make you feel or think anything that you don't want to feel or think. You know this. If I say something and you feel it, it's because you knew it was there and you let that idea in. You invited that idea in. Now, I learned something about medicine which I did not know about before. And you know how they say we have to save the rainforest? We're talking about Brazil. So save the rainforest because all the medicines, 99% of the medicines come from botanicals or animals within the rainforest, and it's how we discover things. And here's the really interesting thing about science and medicine. They say that when you take a Tylenol for your headache, that your body already produces the chemical that's in that Tylenol. Like, what? The only reason why the Tylenol works is because they figured out how to artificially reproduce that same chemical. And if your body didn't know it, it would not work. That was shocking to me.
That's crazy.
It is pretty crazy if you really think about it. So they say that people who take a placebo, even though they have real like diseases like cancer, they take the placebo and they cure themselves of cancer because they believe enough in whatever it is that they're taking. That's why placebos work 50% of the time for serious medical issues, that when they take the placebo, their mind starts to say, we're going to feel better, we're going to heal ourselves, the cancer is in remission, and they start to produce more of whatever it is that they need to produce. And the reason why we have these maladies and these illnesses is because our body has stopped producing that. People, and I don't know on any kind of medical level, so I'm probably going to get in trouble, people who suffer from depression don't produce enough of the happy chemical in their brain, so they have to be artificially creating that. Why did I tell you all that stuff? Well, I present to you like I'm Tylenol. It's not effective on you if you don't already have the thing that matches inside. So something deeper inside of you that was like little Rigo running around in the Brazilian jungles, he already knew. He learned from his environment, from a parent, from a teacher, somebody influential, somebody you cared about, somebody that you needed the approval of, that was there. And oftentimes it remains buried and dormant inside of you, and you don't recognize it as such. And doing deep inner work, talking to therapists and people that are psychologists and professionals, I start to learn about this, and it starts to become very clear to me. Most of the people who are these like self-help gurus, they understand this about how your mind works, and they help you reframe and associate this feeling with something else, allowing you to be unblocked. Okay, this is a lot of deep stuff that we're talking about, and that's why it's after hours. Hang in there. Okay, so this exists within you. Some rando Asian dude says this to you that you have never met before through the internet, and you're like, huh, I think I feel this. And then you say, I wouldn't feel this way if it wasn't for you, Chris. I'm like, no, I think you feel this way. I'm pretty sure. Now that we know that that's the connection, I believe, now we can work towards the solution. Okay? I need you to judo flip this negative emotion from, it's not enough, to it's not enough. Because it's hard for us to feel enthusiastic, to feel motivated, to show up every day when the thing that we know we need to do, we have a strong negative emotion attached to it. It's like you're trying to swim, but there's this 5-pound anchor on your leg. You can fight it for a long time, but eventually it's going to take you down. So we need to reprogram the mind. Okay? I don't have the skill or the training to do that 100%, but I'm just telling you that's what needs to be done. So I want more for you because I want you to have all that you're going to earn. Not that you deserve, but that you earn. I see the potential in you, in the kind of neuroplasticity of your mind, how open you can be, and how quick you're to apply things that you've learned, how quick you are to cast away the old ideas when you hear a superior idea. And that to me says you're a critical thinker who's open to new ideas. That is the bedrock of people that I think are highly coachable. Now, you could be the same Drigo sitting in front of me and be dense as a doorknob, thick as a brick wall. I'm not going to invest my energy in you because I already know you have too much invested in keeping static with who you were to ever move forward. There's a lot of people who come and ask me for advice, and I say, don't be an ask hole, right? An ASK hole is to ask for a piece of advice and never to do anything because you're only looking for advice that aligns with what you already believe. I don't believe you're that kind of person. I probably would not spend this kind of time with you if I thought you were. I've seen the little bits that you do, and I'll tell you, you guys don't know this, but I had a workshop for 2 people. Guess who one of the 2 people were? This guy.
Drigo.
He jumped on a plane from Miami, flew out here to do the workshop. So what turned out to be a lack of poor promotion on our part and follow through turned out, I think, to be a benefit where I basically trained 2 people. Where it should have been 50 people, it was 2 people. This is a guy who consistently keeps showing up, right? When he hears something is happening, he's on the plane. The reason why I'm talking to the 2 of you, and there's no coincidence that the 2 of you are here, is I just produced a workshop at Art Center. It wasn't even me headlining. And next thing I know, you guys are like, we're out from Mississippi. We're going to be there. I'm like, what the frick are you guys doing?
It was the chance.
You right? You see what I'm saying? It's like hundreds, maybe thousands of other people found out about the same thing. Only 2 people jumped on actually it's more than 2 people, but
3. I was there.
You were there too?
I was there too.
Damn, I don't. This guy's. Did you know him back then?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God.
We found out that he was there a few days ago.
Holy guacamole.
Literally.
What a weird small world. So is it any coincidence that the 3 very people that are spending November pre-Thanksgiving with me on a weird lockdown, coronavirus shutdown life are the same 3 people who showed up for an event I did not even headline? Now, you can say you believe in chances and miracles and coincidences, but I don't. I believe each and every one of you set this intention, and whether you convince him or he convinced you, you both said yes because you wouldn't be here. Nobody held a gun to your head.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
Right.
Very.
So maybe you guys are 3 of the 4 apocalypse of the, the horsemen of the apocalypse. I don't know.
Pretty diverse.
We don't know.
Horse riders.
Right. Right. So that's where I think, Drigo, if you have a positive emotion. So my wife always wonders this about me. I'm sure she's watching. She always wonders, like, why do you keep doing this to yourself? Because that challenge, that fire, the do or die situations and the moments I put myself into force me to get out of that suit of complacency and comfort, and it forces me to change, to become who I am. It forces me to read that book, which I wasn't going to read. It forces me to watch that movie with intention, like, I don't have time to give, so I'm going to give 3 hours to this binge watching. I need to pull lessons from this. And that's why we dropped a Better Call Saul episode, and we're going to drop one for Breaking Bad and then Mad Men and every other series I've seen, because I need to cash in on that investment of time.
Queen's Gambit.
Soon, my friend. See what I'm saying?
I do.
So you need to be able to change your emotion around this thing, because if you don't feel good about it, you're not going to do it. Like if you don't feel good about going to the gym, you do a couple of curls and you're like, I'm done. With 10-pound weights.
Why did you look at Mo?
I don't know.
He knows why he
I'm
looked at me.
I'm just scanning the room.
It's all right.
I'm just scanning the room is all. You know what I mean? That when it gets hard and it's like you're tired and you're sweaty and you're like, oh, I've done enough. Because you don't enjoy it. You have to learn to love the process. Not so much the results, but the process. All right, let's move on. We'll come back to you if we need to, okay?
I'm good.
All right.
I
ready?
want to expand on this a little bit, because the original question was like, how do I dream bigger? And then it turned into like, how do I have bigger goals? I know them both well and myself well enough. I think we do dream big, and I think we do have big goals. And when we have the dialogue with ourselves, we say, dang, that's a pretty big goal. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm trying to make this much money at the end of the year. I'm trying to buy this amount of gear. I'm trying to be featured here. But then we're exposed to people like you, and then you say something along the lines of, I'm trying to build a compound, and it's this huge goal. And you're able to tap into that kind of thinking by yourself, but we need to hear it from you to recognize, oh, I'm not thinking big enough. And I think that's why he says something along the lines of, it's your voice in my head. Because you're able to do that for Chris Doe, but we're not. Because when we think, oh, here's the goal that I have, it's like, this is big in my mind. Until I hear your goal, and I'm like, this goal is not big at all.
Yeah, my goals were not big relative to me.
Yeah.
Also.
Okay.
But you already knew that.
But I knew that before we had a
Right.
conversation with
Yeah.
Chris. I knew that I was floating somewhere in the ether. That's why I wanted to know, Chris, how do you tactfully, like when we asked him, he immediately knew, and it was tactile, and it was present. It was like you could see it. Because if you ask me, mine is like, well, I want to make this much next year.
Right.
And it's like when I do, because I know I will, it's just like, all right, well, that wasn't too much. Let's and it's just floating through life.
Mm-hmm.
But the purpose now is to go out and to make it tangible and to make it scary big and to make it to where I can be afraid of my own potential big and go out there and do it. And that's what I need personally. I need that driving force and that that North Star to aim for.
Okay, I have things to respond to, but Ricky's got a hot question. So Ricky, what's up? Tell me. Okay, so Ricky is saying, how do you deal with it being so scary that it paralyzes you, right? Oh, it's in the chat, so it's not Ricky's question. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. This is something that everybody that's watching, all 360 of you right now, it's growing a little bit, can do. I want you to think about this, okay? So you don't need to close your eyes, but I really need you to visualize this for you right now. Think about a person or a company or brand or an agency that's in your space right now, somebody who's really far ahead of you. Imagine them right now, okay? And that's the king or queen of whatever it is that you hope to do one day. That's your North Star. Don't look for the 2 or 3 people who are in front of you that you can knock over really quickly if you just take a couple of steps. So when we look at our channel, we have small-term goals, and then or short-term goals, and then we have really long-term goals. And we want to be the best at doing what it is that we do. And I believe that in terms of the design business space, there may be a couple of people who are in our space, but I hope to put as much daylight between us and them as humanly possible. And this can change for you. So Mo, do you know who your person is or your company? And Chris, do you know who it is? And Drigo, you should know. Now, you've heard me say this before, success leaves clues. So this is the next part to this, which is now we can feel crushed by the enormity of this goal. Like if you said you want to be bigger than PewDiePie, which I think Mr. Beast is going to be, apparently. He's on that trajectory right now. So he has his dream, and he's even afraid to say that that's what it is because he loves PewDiePie too much to say it. And then he starts doing what he needs to do, and he starts to study what other people are doing so that he can get there. That's the most beautiful thing, is because maybe prior to the age of the internet, everything's documented. As soon as it goes online, it lives forever. That's why it's like they say once it hits the internet, it's real because you can't get rid of it. That means you could go back to year 1 of Bruce Wayne and see him fumbling around with his costume and his skills, and how did he become a co-collaborator with James Gordon? How did he do all of this? And you can go back to year 1, and that's what you can do. You can rewind the tape and look at the people who are super successful where you'd like to be and go reverse engineer it. Read every book they've written. Read every blog post they've written because they're dropping clues all over the place. Watch every video they produce in the order in which it was produced chronologically, and you can get there. So if you study who it is that you want to emulate and you study who they studied, that's going to get you even closer to the source code. And I like clean source code. We don't want this whole copy-paste 4th generation version. You go back to the source. That's why I go back to Jim Rohn. It's like I don't know where else to begin before that. And Jim Rohn cites the Bible. I'm like, okay, that's too far. That's enough for me, right? So that's what you want to do. So the problem is when you have this goal and it suffocates you and it paralyzes you, is because you have no plan of attack. Imagine this. Imagine you wanted to learn a martial art and you are the most unathletic person you know. But if you went into a dojo and you met with a great teacher or Sifu sensei, and they started to teach you from the most basic parts of breathing, stance, and position, right? They teach you about how to move, and they slowly take you through that process. You're not going to feel like this is overwhelming because they've taken something complicated and they've broken it down to bite-sized pieces for you to practice. That's why it's called practice, right? Tying it to yesterday's conversation. That's what you want to be able to do. So you can take small steps that are iterative, that build to something much bigger. And it's also like video games where you play and you move through a level and then you beat the boss. That's just a mini boss. And it's doable. And the game designers know this. So they teach you skills that you need to have and they make it a little bit harder each time. There's a new trick that you have to learn to like duck 3 times before you punch, something like that. And you keep going. But they don't allow you to use the same pattern over and over because it'd be too easy. So it's like that. Except for in real life, you don't have the sensei Sifu. You don't have the video game designer designing your life. You design it for yourself, which for some people can be debilitating or it can be very empowering. We like to be in control of our own destiny. We don't like to be told what to do. That's the empowering part. The debilitating part is where to begin. I just told you where to begin. So whoever asked that question, think about what I just said. And if it wasn't clear, ask it again, and Ricky will be on the lookout for you. Okay? Now we understand?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Who's got the next thing I want to talk about? I'll check the messages too.
It's on me. Is that what that nod was?
Go ahead, Mo.
You're nodding to me. I don't want to like meander around and do like you, Drigo. So I'm trying to formulate the question in my mind.
Wow.
So I don't get told shots fired. I don't know, man. I think for me, I'm at an interesting point in my life right now where I want to be doing something that is an extension of who I am. I feel like what I'm doing right now is strictly out of obligation, and we've talked about this a little bit. I don't know if I want to use the word lost. I don't know if I want to use the word scared. I just want to know how to do the thing or find the thing that I can be unapologetically committed to, do or die, no flip-flopping. And I don't know if that's too big. I'm sure you're going to ask me for context, but that's the feeling I have right now.
Yeah. So the way that you phrase that question makes me feel that you don't believe that you actually have 100% control over the decisions of your life, that you are exactly where you are because the decisions you made yesterday, right? Because what my business coach used to say to me all the time was, there are no victims, Chris, just volunteers. Whatever situation you find yourself in your life right now, you volunteered for it. And that goes, I'm not saying this is you, but for people who are in unhappy relationships, whether you're married or whatever, you chose that person. You chose to stay in it. You choose to continue to accept being treated less than, to be taken advantage of or disrespected. You choose all of that. Unless your life is in mortal peril, danger, where you can't literally get away, you choose to keep that. And I've been in super toxic relationships, just one, before. And every time I was thinking, let's break up. And we didn't. You know why I didn't break up? Because at that point in time in my life, I kept telling myself, maybe she's the best I'll ever get. And so I'm going to put up with this abuse. Or maybe this is like a phase that relationships go through. Maybe I haven't tried enough in this relationship. Maybe I haven't been there to be the person that she wanted me to be. So in doing all that stuff, I quickly slipped into states of depression. I was always feeling like I'm a victim, like life is unfair, and I would have dreams of just being in a happy relationship versus the one that I was in. It was just a horrible time in my life, but it taught me a lot. I wasn't emotionally mature enough to realize what the heck was happening, and I was telling myself that story that tough up, this is it. And it wasn't until circumstances presented themselves that we were actually going to break up. And then I just made a promise to myself, never go back. Never go back. And of course, you know, these breakups, it's almost like two magnets. They're drawn to each other. Like, we can make it work this time. Mm-hmm. This will all be okay. And you tell yourself the lie, you tell each other the lies that it's going to work, and then you get back together. When you say, I want to pick something that I can stick with, well, who the heck told you to pick whatever you didn't want to stick with? I didn't see a gun to your head, Mo. These are all decisions you make. The faster you realize you're in charge of your life, that you have agency, that everything that's happened to you thus far, in one way or the other, you either actively decided or passively decided this is where you're going to be. There's no coincidence. There is zero coincidence right now that we're in Santa Monica in a building because this is what I want for my life. Mm-hmm. And it comes at great cost. Mm-hmm. It really does. Right? I grew up in San Jose in the Valley. I went to Art Center because they told me this is the best school to go to. Once I was in Los Angeles, I looked for work that was going to be the most challenging to get, to excel at, and to be recognized for in one of the most competitive markets. This is the entertainment capital of the world. So if you're in entertainment, only the strong survive here. Okay? And it could be by luck, good fortune, or by hard work or sheer talent. But I decided I was going to make it here. I remember one time a couple of years after graduating, my uncle called me up and was like, kiddo, we don't see you enough. And these reunions, the gatherings, you know, and they get together all the time. Big Asian extended family and all the stereotypes that go with it. And he said, as soon as you tell Hollywood to move the business to San Jose, I will go there. But until then, this is the market to make it happen. I could have chosen to go to San Jose. I could have chosen to go to some other state where it's like a little easier going, but I wanted to survive and I want to make it here. If you can make it here in entertainment, I think you can make it anywhere. And people know this. You know this. Like if you want to be big in automotive industry, it's probably Detroit. You know, if you want to be big, you name it, there's going to be a city and a place for that thing because that's what the world knows them for. So here I am. I'm in Los Angeles paying extremely high rent and then mortgage to live where I live, right? And then to establish a place of business and to hire people where it's going to cost even more to do the work. I chose this. And then my wife is going to say, well, why did you choose this? There's so much pressure and work. And why can't we just chill? I said, you can't undo that part of my brain. It's like, I want to compete at the highest level on the global stage. This is where I'm at. I've told all of you, all three of you, I don't know what you guys are doing because you're all filmmakers. Why you aren't in LA, I don't know. I do not know. Look at Ricky. He's out from Michigan. Look at Jonah, out from Texas, y'all. See what I'm saying? H-Town over there.
Shout out to the South.
You see what I'm saying? They decided for whatever reason, they're going to get in their cars, they're going to drive across the country, and they're going to try to make it in Los Angeles. That's what they want. And there's no surprise that they're also here. So the kid who's in Iowa or wherever else they're from, I'm like running out of states. I ran out with one, dude. I'm done. You know, Washington, you know, wherever they're from, there's a reason why they're there. Like if you want to be in politics, you're probably in Washington, right?
Right.
That's where you're going to be. You can't make it.
I want to interject, if I can.
Go ahead.
I'm fully aware that where I'm at up to this point is because of me volunteering. I don't believe to be a victim in my own life. I want to make that very clear. I'm at a point as I've tried different things coming out of my academic background. I'll do them and then I just don't feel like my heart's in it. And don't get me wrong, I've had success in these areas, but I'm not, like you say, staying up until 5 a.m. wanting to make this excellent all the time. Though if it's client work, I'm making sure that it's excellent. So I just feel like something is missing and I'm unable whether to see it or how I've been conditioned to for things to come easy and immediate gratification. I don't know. That's the thing. It's not that, like, if I felt it in my bones, I would probably take action on all of it. Right now, my immediate priority is just to continue getting paid. So I'm not even thinking about the big, immaculate, I guess, dream or goal at the moment. So
let me stop you right there.
What I have on that right now.
Let me stop you for a couple things. The things that you choose to do with your life, you chose. So why do you choose things that don't do it for you? Somehow you've translated an interest into maybe I'm passionate about this into I'm just showing up to get paid. Because every time you go up against somebody who's more passionate than you, you're going to lose. Every single time.
I believe that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've done a talk on this already, right? Because look, if the four of us, let's just say, and it's going to sound egotistical when I say this, and I'll deal with the blowback in a second, but if the four of us had to give a presentation to the next big conference, design conference, okay? Just imagine it. We're all going to be there on closing night, and you guys are all going to do a talk. Who cares what the order is? Who's going to show up for that more than the next person? The person who feels it in their heart and their bones. So you're like, I'm done. I'm okay. They go to sleep at 10 o'clock.
Right.
I'm sitting there like in my underwear trying to figure out like just how to make that slide a little bit better, or how to work on the flow, or any other key things that I can do to innovate and to add to that. Theoretically, all things being relatively equal, I'm going to crush you every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't feel it the way I feel it. I'm not casting judgment on any other public speaker. They're doing the best that they can. But sometimes, I hate to say this, my motivation is just to embarrass them. Like, I want to show up. Like, I worked really hard for this, and I want the people who are in attendance, and I know this is a problem of mine. I've had therapy about this before, which is to say that I feel the obligation, the duty, that if they pay $200 to see 35 speakers, that the $200 I'm going to earn right then and there. And I've said to you before, if you do more than what you're paid for, eventually be paid more than what you do.
Right.
I'm trying to do that. And I've noticed something, Mo. I've noticed that over time in this short arc of my speaking career, I'm getting put in more prominent positions.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe somewhere somebody recognizes that work and that passion and the energy that I put into it.
Right.
You know, I was talking to my friend Aaron, and he said, Chris, man, the amount of work, and you don't make it easy on yourself because you just keep writing new decks. And I say to him, I would love to give the same talk over and over again, but they asked me to write about something new. I'm like, dang it. Am I the only person who has to do this or what? But I accept it, and it's grueling. It's nasty. It's horrible, but I do it. Here's the other thing that you said. You're like, but I don't want to be that guy who's like up at 5 a.m. trying to do this thing, but I'll do it for a client. So that's sending all kinds of signals to me that you'll show up more for a client than you'll show up for yourself. So you are perhaps maybe a person who's motivated by the obligation to others by not letting others down. But you don't use the same standard for yourself. And the only person that you should really be concerned about not letting down is you. You should be the first person in the Mo Ismail club, fan club. You should be the first person in line to say, like, of all the people I have to like make happy, I need to make Mo happy.
Hearing that makes me mad uncomfortable.
Why?
I could feel my body. I could like feel myself like going crazy foot.
People are wondering why Drake is uncomfortable. Why?
Why is Drake uncomfortable? Because the word selfish just comes to mind. It just is what it is. Like that's the only answer I have.
Don't pull a Trump. It is what it is. Give us an explanation. Like why? Dig into your soul and your heart and your mind. Pull it out of you and let us know what's inside.
So difficult. I don't know. When I hear like worry about Mo first or put the only person you should be considering out of all of this is yourself, it's like, yeah, but what about the people that are in my life that I owe a responsibility to, or that are needing something from me or looking out for me? And I know there's the cliche of like, well, you can't give 100% to anyone else if you're not 100% with yourself, whatever. But I don't know. It's just how I think. That's my answer to that.
That's not a very clear. That's not a clear or enlightening or soul-searching or life-changing explanation of any of that. I think you're beating around the bush. I'm going to call it right now.
If it's around the bush, just a lot to. I mean, I think just a lot to take on, just to think about in a very short amount of time. I mean, that's kind of deep. So from what you're saying, Chris, are you understanding you're suggesting? But should we be doing something else if we're not that passionate about the thing that we're doing right now?
Let me think about that. Yes.
Yeah, but so okay, I get so in that situation right now, if I'm not waking up to shoot videos, I should just find something else. I'm
gonna drag my crew right into this conversation right now. I'm gonna put them on the hot seat, even though you can't see them and you can't hear them, except for a wild laugh from Ricky from time to time. Let me just say this right now. Oftentimes, I'll come into the office and I'll talk to Jonah and Ricky. I'm like, dude, I've been watching this shot. This is how they do it. Here's this camera. Here's the lighting. I need you to think about this. And then I yell at them. Not yell at them. I raise my voice slightly. And I say to them, This is your job. This is your passion. It's not even my job or my passion. Why am I the guy watching these videos telling you how to light and move things around? And you know what I'm saying? It's like, do you always want somebody else to tell you how to do your job? Do you want to be the best version of you that you can be? And this is where all that passion comes into play. Right? So if you don't have it, find something that you love. You either find something you love or love the thing that you found. I don't know which it is. You can lie to yourself. But here's the other thing I've been thinking about. So Mo and I are unique in this situation between the 4 of us in this room, or the 6 of us, actually. Mo and I are the only ones who are married, who have kids, who have other people that we got to think about besides us. But I'm going to tell you right now, I never want my 2 boys, I have 2 boys, right, to look at me and say, that's how you live a compromised life. I never want them to see that. If they love me, if they like me, if they enjoy being around me, I never want them to think that I phoned it in, that my unhappiness comes from me making compromises around what my wife wants and what they want. We've seen that. All you have to do is look around your life and see who's done that, right? You see the mom who's grown into her dress a little bit, who's a little bit wrinkly in her face, but underneath all that, you're like, you were a dancer, an actress once, weren't you? You were the beauty queen. Like, what happened to that? Well, I got married and I had you guys, and then you see the dad who's like a pretty brilliant engineer, but then wound up just working on his car, and you're like, what happened? Well, I got married and had you guys. We just have this one life. It's so precious, and it's a miracle that you're alive, that you are exactly who you are. Why would you waste that? I don't understand that. I have a hard time reconciling that. And I think I honor my parents and my larger family and my wife and children to be the best person I can be. It does come at a cost, for sure. It means sometimes I don't go to the warm-up recitals for my children, right? It might mean that I'm working more than they would like me to. But until they invent a way to be at 2 places at the same time, I don't know how else to do that. I'm often reminded of this story, and I read it in The Power of Self-Confidence by Brian Tracy, and he talked about how I think the painter Gauguin, he dreamt of being an amazing painter. So he'd hang out at these cafes in Paris, and all the greats were there, and he would just sit there and like have coffee and drink and just study them, and he just wanted that life so much that one day, and he was working at the post office, he just quit. He packed his bags and he left his wife and his children and went to Tahiti, I think. He started to paint. Then he became the person that he needed to become. Now, there's a tragedy in here that he left his wife and his kids, but I think if he's miserable, he's not that good to them either. We've seen parents who hate their lives and then take it out on their family. That you always, when you see this in the stories in cinema, you're like, why don't you just do everybody a freaking favor and just leave? Leave this poor family alone.
So true.
Because you come home drunk,
dad and you're like,
you hate things, and then your kid says something, it's totally innocent, and you just whip them one. It's like, what is that? You hate your life. You're not willing to take responsibility for it, so you just take it out on the poor people who can't stand up to you. For financial reasons, they can't. For physical reasons, they can't. Why would you do that?
Someone in the comments said it's a pep talk at this point.
Well, that's what. Welcome to After Hours.
Welcome to After Hours.
Really,
sorry for
first
us being
episode.
vulnerable with you.
You don't realize what After Hours is because you may not have seen one of these things in a really long time. This is like, I'm a little older than you guys, so I think I can say this. The father-son talk you've never had, and the son that I don't have right now because they're actually pretty young kids, right? We try to do that. Different tone. I'm not like high energy, Chris. I'm not whiteboarding, strategizing frameworks and things like that. We're just having real talk. And I think, and I'm going to get myself in trouble again. My wife's going to yell at me after this, but like even Buddha, Buddha was comes from a rich family, and he was married, and he decided, you know what? the world is suffering. I want to end suffering. I want to lessen the suffering of humankind. So he leaves his wife and his children. Then he goes on to like share his ideas with people that have changed generations of people. Sometimes it takes that kind of sacrifice.
Chris, you want to say this?
Yes, I'm about to say that, Ricky. I don't need. Thank you.
Ricky's been reading books
not,
about marriage, so
yes.
he's pretty in tune on that situation.
Yes. I'm not encouraging anybody here to leave their wife and their children or the husband or their dog or whatever and just abandon things. But I need you to like dig deep inside yourself and find out what makes you tick to try to make it work within that construct. But life should not be a series of one compromise after another.
Right.
It shouldn't be that. So whatever you picked in your life, unpick it. Pick something new. Pick something that you can get up for.
I'd like to say something because I read a comment and I think it's for people to feel in tune. It's someone's like, although I'm having a hard time getting a grasp on the actual situations these guests are in, it all sounds quite vague. Let me shoot it real straight to you. I've been in business for 2.5 years, made a significant amount of money in the six figures in the first year of business, and now I just feel like I'm doing it because it's an occupation that I'm good at, that gets me paid and allows me to give clients things that they want. I don't necessarily feel passionate about what I'm doing, though I'm good at it. And I haven't been able to figure out exactly how to take my ikigai or all the things that I'm good at and all the things that I'm passionate about and turn it into something unique that I can give to the world. This is something that really cripples me a lot most of the time. And when I talk to Chris and hear what he's saying out loud, it does sound like professionally I am settling. Because the things that I am passionate about, whether it be music or rap or public speaking or entertaining, I don't see them getting me paid the same way this occupation is getting me paid. So, and I think the reason why I struggle on following through on certain things when it comes to this is like, I am comfortable on what I'm doing right now in my work. And because of the lack of like deep-rooted foundational passion, I'm cool. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Like, I'm not trying to, in this particular space, and then I hear these conversations and then I end up not having the excited, eager, I could do more, but the judgmental, I could do more. Where I'm like, well, I could be doing more in this space. I could be creating a course. I could be creating more content, but like, then it feels like I'm doing it for the sake of just making the money for the business, versus it being a real passion that isn't sustainable. And then I don't commit, and then I'm on that bipolar trajectory of like making a little bit of content here and stopping. So to answer that is with all the detail I can muster where I'm at personally, and the advice I'm looking for is like, I guess is what you just said, like, just pick something at this point that you're better, that you feel better with.
Yeah, I want to say a couple of things to that. Well, we need to do some editorial work right now. So I want to prep you guys for this. I want you guys to introduce yourselves real quick, and I'll prompt you when to do that so we can use it for the edit. Some people aren't familiar with the After Hours series because it's been months, well, maybe almost a year since we've done one. We've been busy, y'all. We've been a little busy with COVID and all that stuff, trying to keep our business going. But we do these kinds of talks, and they are very much centered around exactly what you see here. So first of all, let me know in the comments that you're enjoying this kind of format, because it's very different. It's very real. This is unvarnished, unpolished, unscripted. I'm running out of unwords here. It's the underworld. You know, this is unplanned. I mean, well, sort of. I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about, but it's a chance for us to like strip away all that stuff and just reveal ourselves to be who we are and have real meaningful conversations. So joining me today are some people I would consider my friends that started out as strangers.
Let's go.
And we've hung out in different cities in the world, and it's been a pretty amazing experience, at least for me. Now, Mo, introduce yourself to the camera.
My name is Mo Ismail. I'm a solopreneur. I run a video marketing agency that helps course creators, thought leaders, and digital entrepreneurs multiply and scale their video content online for their business marketing.
What is the name of your company, Mo?
Mocs, M-O-C-S.
Okay, next up is Chris Franklin. Franklin, look right into that lens, down the barrel, and give us your soul.
Putting Ricky on the spot. My name is Christopher Franklin. I am a independent filmmaker in South Mississippi. Basically, my company helps brands tell their story through film. And I also do YouTube, where I teach other creatives how to basically, be more comfortable with the camera, on camera, and to help their clients, achieve their goals, and to help the actual filmmaker be a better version of themselves. So,
What's the name of your company? Did you already say?
my technical name of my company is Beauty is Veiled, but I'm in transition at the moment because it originally was wedding films and wedding photography.
It's
And-
gone.
What?
It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Yeah. Okay, you're in transition right now. Which camera? That one. There you go. Go.
Do my intro again. My name is Rodrigo Tasca. I am a filmmaker, entrepreneur based in South Florida. I shoot content for corporate brands and local businesses. The name of my agency is Tasca Studios, and I also have a small, dedicated YouTube channel that I pretty much teach everything I learned from Chris. So,
Thanks very much. You guys did a great job. Go ahead.
Before we continue, I would just like to point out this one comment that just said they like my hat. Thank you so much. That's it.
Shout
You guys
out
need to stop reading the comments.
I
Shout
know.
out to that.
This is
Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you, it's great that you're reading the comments, but not if you can't be present to what's going on. And sometimes you can become a little bit ruled by what's happening in the mob. I can do that. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I encourage you to actually just think about what is being said and try to figure out what the next thing you want to talk about. Now, if you're wondering how the heck you can be a part of this conversation, the truth is you can't. This is kind of an invite-only thing. These are friends from the pro group, but that's coincidental. I have real relationships with these fine people who are in front of me, and it begins with just like how strangers do things. We get to know each other, and eventually it escalates to something like this. And originally it was planned to be a giant pro meetup, but of course that didn't happen. But these guys went through with a plan and went out here to risk my life by giving me Corona. So we got that part. Okay?
We got tested.
So we got
Everything
it. We
is
got
cool.
it. We've been quarantined and things have been mostly good. Okay. So that's who they are. And thanks for being a part of this. I want to say hello to a few people who are tuning in. Most likely we'll just edit this part out later, but for the lives, I want to say hello to Excellence, Adagun, Sketchinficent, Reven, Master PLK, Dane Peralt, Mohammed Chand, Burm. I saw some other people in here that I want to say hello to because I see them. Alex, I see you. Modern Picasso, what's up? Jennifer, Catherine. Thanks very much for tuning. There he is, Alex Harton. I'm glad you guys like this format. If you like it and this gets enough views, we'll continue to do it. Historically speaking, we do the after hours on my personal channel, which has like very few followers, and then we do the cut downs for the main channel. But Jonah's like, we haven't done this in a while. Maybe people will miss it. Maybe they'll like it, and they need to be reintroduced to the concept. So if you like it, be sure you hit that like button and let people know and drop a comment. Having a comment inside the video once it's aired actually helps a lot with the algorithm saying that somehow this is engaging with people and you might want to see more of this. Okay, now moving on. I want to say something. As I told Mo to stop reading the chats, he's still in the chats.
I was reading while you were reading the chats.
But
No,
But I
because I'm doing a
appreciate the
job. I'm doing a job, man.
I
Your job
appreciated
is to
the-
be here.
I
Okay.
didn't want to be vague if this is something.
No,
that
you're still
can
vague. It's
impact
okay.
someone. I'm still vague.
No, we know you're vague. That's all right. We're not ready to go there. But I do want to say something. This is an emotional thing for me. I'm going to say it. I have two boys that I'm taking care of and my wife, who's my partner in life and business. And I often dream of this wonderful dream, and we talk about dreams and goals and plans. I hope that one day that this company, this organization that we have called The Future becomes so successful to have more money than God, because what I would love to do is to have these kinds of conversations in deep, meaningful, prolonged ways with young people who need some help and some guidance to be the parent figure that they don't have, whether you want to call me mom or dad, I don't really care. But just to bring those people in and say, you know what, you have a place to live. We can learn together for at least a period of time, because I'm not also about just enablement. I'm about empowerment to bring people together, especially in far away cities and places that these kinds of opportunities don't exist. I'm doing the best that I can to be the father to you guys out there, the ones that we all wish we could have had. And I'm trying to be that person myself. And I'm sure my kids are rolling their eyes right now thinking, Dad, you're not that kind of father to us. So, well, better some than none, right? Burn. Okay. Now, Mo and Chris and Rodrigo, I want to ask you this question. The question is this, are you the best person in your town that does what you do? Are you the best person in your city that does what you do? In the state? In the country? In the world? My ambition is to be world class. Whether I fail or make it doesn't matter to me, but that is my ambition, to be the best in the world. I know I have a long ways to go, and whatever I do, if I can't be that, if there's no path for me moving forward, I quit. I choose something else. Period. My son loves to play video games. It's all he does in his free time. I don't like it because he's not very good. I just ask him, can you do this professionally? Is this what you want to do? Because I will support you 100%. And he knows it. He used to speak with a little bit of a lisp, so in my mind, he's still that little boy, even though he's not. He's like, Dad, I can't do it. I'm like, okay then. Time for us to move on.
It's not funny, Rick. You don't laugh at
It's time for us to move on. Right? I love the kid to death. But he knows it. Yeah, because he's just not that brilliant at strategy. He keeps running to the same spot and getting murdered. I don't understand it. I even tell him, take the other path, and he gets the victory. He's like, that was luck. I'm like, it's not luck, it's a plan. Have a strategy, my friend. Okay. He doesn't have the twitch factor. He just doesn't have that cold-blooded killer video game instincts. He does it. He's all sweaty.
They
so
are animals on Twitch.
They are.
That's true.
You either got it or you don't. I don't think he has it. He has other skills that other people will be happy to have. So, Mo, I think you're vague. That's fine. Let's move on. Who else has got something?
I'm not trying to be vague.
I know.
I really am not.
I mean, it's not vague because, like, in my situation, I got into video because I was very passionate about it. I was at a place where I hated what I was doing. I was literally going into work, like, feeling like my soul was getting sucked out of me. And I bought a camera, and I'd wake up early, work on that stuff, go to work, get out, work on video stuff, go to my job, repeat. And through a point, and it's like, you know, just working with you, it's more of those, like, self-discovery stuff of, like, I was very happy with the video stuff, but eventually the video stuff became my full-time job, and then I dealt with dealing with clients to a point now that, like, you know, I won't take on jobs from clients for photo stuff because I feel like that's the last, like, creative outlet I have for me. And it's one of those things that I feel like, is there more out there that I'm not doing now that I could be more passionate about because I don't have the same flame that I had for video when I started. I still love video. Like, I'd rather do what I'm doing today with video than anything else. Like, I couldn't do a 9-to-5 job, but at the same time, I'm like, is there something more and bigger out there? And I don't want to feel like I'm not happy with what I have. Like, I feel very fortunate to be in America, you know what I mean? And just to have the opportunities that I have, but it always, you know, every time I have a talk with you, it makes me think of, like, am I going to be doing more?
I feel that. Everything you just said.
Good. Yeah, and the answer is yes, of course. You studied cinematography as a self-taught person. You bought a camera. And we know this. Having a camera does not make you a cinematographer. Having a camera does not make you a storyteller.
Facts.
The storyteller finds the tools and makes the story. So you may or may not have it within your heart, your body, and your mind, and soul, and spirit that you want to be an incredible storyteller, to connect people with their emotions and to illuminate stories that people are ignoring. And if you look at yourself like that, how could you not be inspired by that? But I think what happens is after you gain a certain level of proficiency, not even mastery, just proficiency, is you start to think about getting paid for that thing. That spark, that it was the origin of this thing, has somehow disappeared in the grind itself. And you've lost your way. And I think that's what it is. So when I got out of school, I felt like I was pretty top of my class for graphic design. And that was not going to sustain me. I knew enough about myself, and I had the awareness to say, I'm going to get bored with this really fast. I need to find something else. So I got into motion graphics, which is still a new and emerging field. And I knew that it had a lot of complexities to it. Animation, photography, illustration, visual effects, acting, editing, directing, cinematography. So many things that would take a person a lifetime just to learn one of those columns. I'm like, this is going to keep me busy for a while. And when you get good enough, then you say, well, you know, instead of working with small-time local TV spots, I want to work with national TV spots. Okay, now I've done that. I don't want to just work for any national TV spot. I want to work for the best in class. I don't want to work for podunk car maker. I want world-class car maker. I don't want to work for just cat food. I want to make the best cat food commercials. And you just keep going and going. It's like, I haven't worked with that agency. I haven't worked with that brand or that client. We haven't worked with those superstars. Let's go there. And that can keep you busy for 20 years. Because that's the drive. And when you feel like you've hit some kind of ceiling, you add something new to that and you continue to explore. You keep challenging yourself. You move that mile marker away. Some people who have attended some of my talks, there's this one ad that I reference. And this is the power of art, I think. It is an ad, but it's art. And it's for Nike. It's a double-page spread, and I saw it in a magazine that features the best ads in the world. And what it had was it had a street, and it almost felt like one point perspective, vanishing point, where the street kind of just undulated. It was like a San Francisco street, where it go up and down, and you could see from the point of view of the camera all the way into the horizon, one really long street. And you saw the buildings flanking from left and right. It's kind of an urban thing. And then the copy read something like, just to the mailbox, just to the car, just to the end of the street.
Dang.
Just to that. And it kept going and going. That's how I see my life. So if you just say to yourself, and I think I'm not a sports athletic person, I see this thing and it just hits me right here. And it's like, that's what it means to be super passionate about something in your life. That you set a goal, and when you get to that goal, you're not saying like, I'm going to run to the end of that into the horizon. Right. I'm not going to run 10 kilometers. I'm just going to get to the next mile marker. I'm just going to keep going and keep going. I don't know when I'm going to stop. I'm just going to keep going. And this is me in 1995 saying, just get out of school. Just start a company. Just try to get a client. Just get a few freelancers working for you. Just learn how to bid. And it just keeps going and going. So the reason why you don't wake up and show up anymore is because you got to that marker, to the car, the third goal in, and you're like, I'm done.
That's what it is.
I'm done.
Wow.
Or
And that's what
way
separates.
Too far ahead and then being upset that you only made it to the mailbox.
That
That's
could be
how I
one
see it.
explanation.
That could
I
be
get that question a lot from people, and they're like, "Oh, so what's next for you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just kind of enjoying the place that I got to."
Yeah.
You know what happens there is people like me, younger and older than you, just keep going.
Turn
And then
into
the
sheep.
problem is time, as the song goes, is not on your side. The more obligations you have, the less your body complies with your mind. Trust me, I know.
Facts.
Trust me, I know. The harder it is for you to do what it is you want to do. I'm going to butcher the expression, but like beauty and youth is wasted on the young. It really is, because you don't know what to do with it. You do dumb, stupid things thinking you have all of your life. And now I'm looking right at Ricky, right? He's trying to not make eye contact with me, but he knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping you will. Get focused, but not with the lens. You know what I'm saying? That's what you want. So when I look at my two boys, and they're very different. One doesn't really need a lot of motivation. He already knows what he wants to do in his life. The other one, I'm like, you seem to exhibit talent in this thing. Do you like this thing? He's like, yeah. Well, let's work on this thing instead of the other thing that you don't like. And so we take him out of school. We put him in an art school. So I was thinking, if I could do my life all over again, I would want to be in your shoes right now, young man. A father who just supports me, who just gives me whatever I need to do, pursue my goal, my dreams, who wants me to be the best version of myself, not out of pressure and obligation, but just because of joy. And I'm just looking at that little dude. I'm like, come on, dude. I can't open any more doors for you right now. You got to walk through that door. So I look at you, and I look at you and everybody else that's watching this. I want that for you too. But I can't want it more for you than you want it for you. I can't. It's just like that expression goes, you can't hire someone to do the push-ups for you. You got to do the work. And it starts by being clear with what you want from your life. That's where it begins. I think it's going to be time for us to start wrapping this up. I'm starting to feel that. I think we have a couple more comments probably that we need to sort through here. And I'll give you guys some time to kind of formulate your last questions or final thoughts. You don't have to ask another question. You can summarize. You can perform a haiku. You can do whatever you want to do. But I'm going to scan the comments. Okay, that's good, Ricky. Thanks. Ricky says you guys think about what your takeaways, what you got from this conversation, or a plan of action. Let's figure it out. Alex is saying to himself, God, the dumb things I've done 10 to 15 years ago. It's true. We all do those things. And we all move on our own timeline, so don't be too hard on yourself. Oh, okay. Jennifer has an issue with me. Let's talk about this. Let me read this to make sure I understand it.
Let's go.
Okay, here we go. So Jennifer Granger is saying, the issue I have is, Chris, you're projecting your worldview on others rather than being curious others where the level of success is enough. 100% guilty. I got no issues with your observation of my observation. These friends of mine who've gathered around here, I hope that they're coming here because they need to get past whatever challenge barrier. They need to get unstuck. And I assume they show up because they want to hear what my worldview is. And this is all this is. You're exactly right. This is my worldview. This is what I want. This is what I want for myself. So when I say success leaves clues, sometimes they're hard to figure out. And sometimes success just tells you exactly what to do. It's just up to you if you want to pick up those clues or not. So obviously, what I'm saying is not for everyone. I don't believe it's for everyone. I don't think everyone's capable of hearing this. I don't think everyone wants this. And that's totally okay. The beautiful thing about this fabric of society that we have is we all get to be who we want to be. We all get to achieve what we want to achieve, and that's amazing. Plain and simple. There we go. Oh, Greg Gunn, one of the teams. Oh, when one of your team members is in the house, you got to address that. So Double G, as he's known around the way.
GG.
Double G. Gregory Gunn says, do you think struggle is an inherent part of personal growth versus having unconditional support? That's a deep question from Double G right there. Let me just tell you right now, it's a puzzle within a riddle within something else, right? Yeah. I don't think these are mutually exclusive things, Greg, that you can have unconditional support while struggling, and those are ideally what you would have. That you would have a support network of friends and parents and family who support you unconditionally while giving you space to suffer because your dream is big. And I think if you don't struggle somewhat, you're not pushing yourself far enough. That would just be my take. That's my worldview, Jennifer. Obviously, if you're not struggling and you're feeling great and just rock starring it out right now, more power to you.
Enjoy that.
More power to you. I struggle every day. I try to pretend that it's easy, but it's a struggle. Oh, okay. Jennifer's saying, P.S. I still love you. Thank you, Jennifer.
We love
That's
you
important
too.
to me. Okay. Tim's in the house. Tim, what's up? Okay,
We
they're
got
having
some- we
private
got some pros in
conversations
the
now.
house, yo.
We do have pros?
Pros
Who's the
showing
pros?
up like Melinda, David Coe.
Oh, what does Melinda say?
Melinda just led everybody to my Instagram so they can tell me I'm more vague.
I see. Please, everybody, do me a favor and go
Chill.
at, what is it, Mox Media?
No, at Mo Isma.
Oh, at Mo Isma. Go there and let him know how vague or clear he's been in this conversation.
So clear.
Drop him, slip it in the DMs and give him a message. Okay,
Slide
anything
them
else,
Dims, yo.
people? Did I give you enough time to think, to contemplate, to reflect?
Yeah, I got mine.
All right, here we go. All right, go ahead.
So I think the big one for me is kind of me. I don't know if that's how it worked out for you, but it was realizing that, you know, your plans for that compound and the things you want to do didn't come from like 10 years ago. Maybe it did, but I guess it's more of understanding that this is kind of like a scaffolding, like you like to talk about, that it's going to come into steps, but I need to figure out what the next step of what I want to achieve, and then from there, the next thing could potentially come to me. And the other thing you said was about imagine the person that I look up to and then visualize the steps that they took to get to where they're at. Kind of like the success leaves clues is what really resonated with me.
Fantastic summary. Very succinct. Well done.
Yes.
All right, Chris, you're up.
I'm in a very similar boat to Drigo. Basically, when it comes to visualizing and goal setting, making it strategic, making it tangible, making it to the point to where I can basically physically see it, and it's for me, and it's what I'm meant to do, because I do feel like I'm in the correct area. I feel like I'm passionate about what I do, and I feel like, you know, I'm in my right spot. I just have to see the trajectory of how far I can go in my field. When it comes to questions, I need to learn to ask better questions, more thought out questions, because there are answers that I want to find, and the question is the first step to getting those things. And of course, as Drigo said, success leaves clues. Studying the people in my area, because I'm in a small town, not necessarily like super small, but it's not LA, and so there is a part of me that is comfortable being among the better in videographers in my town, but it stopped there for a second, and so it's just pushing past that and going further.
There's something about you, Chris, that I think once you found your voice and your path, that I think you're onto something. You shared some videos earlier on. I made some comments about the Playboy filter, and you removed it promptly at the Prima Mist filter, you know, because it's like it has a certain look. And I see you delivering things. I'm like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Where'd he come from? You know, this guy who shows up on camera that's smooth with that kind of southern thing you got going. It's very nice, and I like it. And I think you're going to give hope to a lot of people who are exactly where you were just a couple of years ago. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that you're doing. I think for you, what I would try to do is to set my bar pretty high and keep climbing that. To say somebody like me can attain the heights that I'm able to attain, and you're going to empower so many people. We talk about representation and inclusion, and sometimes I don't fully get that, but I start to understand it now. Like when we see somebody who looks like us, like some skinny Brazilian first-generation immigrant, then we know we can do it. Some vegan guy, right? We know that somebody's done it, so we have a template to follow.
Right.
Because when we say success leaves clues, and it's Jim Rohn, not Drigo, who said that, success leaves clues is apparently the person who's leaving the clues has to look like us and sound like us for us to pick them up. Because what happens is we go through this kind of exceptional mindset, which is they can do it, except I'm not like that.
Right.
Right? She was able to do that because that's her story and her narrative. And it's really crazy to me, but this is how a lot of people think. So the casting of that person who's going to leave clues for us has to almost be a mirror image of our life story. So what can we learn about this? Is just by you being you, and there are 100,000 people, 1 million people just like you who are waiting for you to become their role model, and that's who you can be.
Thanks.
We also realize that that we need to tell our story so that they can say, that sounds like my story. So all of you guys, what we've done today, except for Mo, is to reveal who we are, to be specific, to talk about where we come from. Because that story is what galvanizes people to say, yes, I can too. So for you, I think you still have miles to go where you can be. And I'm looking forward to that day when you're like Joe Smooth doing your thing. You've got your own catchphrases and you've got all the gear that you could ever dream of in your life. And that's what I want for you. And I'm saying this, Jennifer, it's not what I want, because this is what I see what he wants. And we've spent enough time knowing that that's where it's going. And sometimes you just need another human being to see that sparkle in your eye. And say, you see my dream too?
Big facts.
That's it. You want to say something? No, okay. Let's move on to Mr. Vague, Mo Ismail.
Why do you like picking on me? I've not been
It's fun,
vague.
that's why.
I've been so emotional. No, but my two things are, I like the Nike ad that you said, which I think shifted my perspective a little bit, because I do look at the end of the street versus just to the mailbox, and then I go into shooting on myself. So I think that was a big perspective shift, just recognizing that it's one step at a time. And then what's the emotion behind the I could be doing more? Is it excited, eager, or is it judgmental? And unfortunately, I fall under the judgmental voice right now, and hearing the way you said it, and even the way you said it via your inflection, made me realize that I could be saying the same thing, but it have completely different consequences. So those were the two biggest ones for me.
Well, apparently your cousin's in the chat, because your cousin's like, Mo, you was very clear.
Let's go. I appreciate that.
I'll let
appreciate
you
that,
know.
love. Thank
That's
you.
coming from Siren. You can send the Venmo check to Siren right now. Let me see if I can add a few more comments to this conversation, and then we're done. We're gonna wrap up today. I have a board meeting to go to. People deny saying she likes the small group setting. Now you guys can read the chats if you want.
I have PTSD now.
Do you?
No one wants to get picked on like me for reading
Did you
the
read
chat.
something? Did you read
No,
something?
no.
Okay. All right. Let me see if there's anything else, and we'll get out of here.
Chris, are you a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond?
Kind of guy.
Yeah, right.
I'm
now.
a small fish in a big pond. I said I want to be world class. That's a pretty big pond.
It's a giant pond.
Yeah. And I always thought that it would be better to be a small fish in a big pond because the fish can grow. A big fish in a small pond, that's kind of it. Jake Kingman, what's up? He's saying, loving the format tonight. Nice deep chats. Maybe we'll change after hours to deep chats. What do you think about that?
Deep chats.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome you to
Deep
Deep
Chats.
Chats.
Wait, hold on. Everybody quiet while the guy with the deepest voice say that. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to Deep Chats here at the Future.
Now I want you to do that, but without smiling.
Oh, no.
Don't be all like comical about it. Go ahead, try it again.
Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to Deep Chats here at the Future. Send in your questions and they might get noticed.
Beautiful.
all I got.
Good
That's all I
job, dude. You got to put that deep voice to work for you. See,
Hire me for voice acting.
you got to use what your mama gave you.
I
That's
think
the way
my
it
si-
is.
That's my future side passion one day. It's going to be
Just voiceover
It's gonna be
acting
voice
with your
acting.
deep voice.
The Lion King 5. Mufasa returns.
I love it.
Darth Vader
Okay.
returns and you just in
I think
the
what we
head.
need to do is, Jack is asking, where can I find that Nike ad, Jack? I promise you I've been looking for that Nike ad. I cannot find it. So it's not easy to find. I'm pretty good at sleuthing around on the Googles, but I've rebuilt the ad in my mind, and you guys understand the concept, right? And I've shared it in a talk before. So that's where you can find it now, living on in my mind and my decks. Okay. You want me to pick on some other people? I see that. Okay. I think what we need to do is we need to wrap this up because I want to drag it on and kill all the energy and the good vibes that we have. Okay. So on behalf of my team, which is Jonah and Ricky, who aren't on camera today, and typically they are on camera holding the mics with me, but we're out of microphones apparently, and they can't do it. And then of course the three people, the gentleman in front of me, Melinda, we miss you. I don't
We
know.
miss you, Melinda.
We miss you.
Melinda,
Back
come
to
back.
us.
We miss you.
You
That's all
could've
right.
been here.
She don't want to get what we got. So once again, to my left is Mo Ismail. You can follow him on Instagram at Mo Isma.
Mo Isma.
Mo Isma. And this is Chris Franklin. Chris Franklin, where can people find you on Insta?
Instagram at Chris Franklin Jr. or
Chris-
YouTube at Chris Franklin Jr.
Chris Franklin Jr. with a
Very
C.
straightforward.
Chris Franklin Jr. Jr. Okay. And then last but not least, Rodrigo Tasca. Where can people find you?
You can find me on the gram on Drigo_who or on YouTube Rodrigo Tasca.
On the grizzle.
And also on Tinder? No?
No,
No?
I am
Hey.
being taken off the market.
Bro, he's
Are you off the market?
Yeah.
now, yo.
Dang, dude. You and Ricky. You guys are all done, huh? Update that status. Okay.
Ricky, he called you young and beautiful earlier in a very backhanded way, but it was dope.
All right, everybody. Thanks very much for hanging out with us on this very real, raw, deep, philosophical, unvarnished version of the future. This is After Hours. I'm your host, Christo, and I will see you in the future.